Welcome to the Million Vegan Grandmothers Climate Healers. We have VCOP 18 coming up. I'm so excited for you to meet this amazing woman. Wow. Okay, I'm going to let you introduce yourself all the way from London town, UK, across the pond. So excited to have you meet. Take it away, Azeezat.
Hi, I'm Azeezat and I'm a fashion designer. I'm based in London right now, and literally I've been researching climate change for like intensely for like over 4 years now, which is funny. Fine, I knew about it before, but I came across an article actually that said, "Oh, fashion is the second most polluting industry after oil." And I thought to myself, how can I work in this industry and not know this? It's crazy. So I actually went back and did like a deep dive because of that. Long story short, it actually led me to climate healers because I found out popular media like narratives were wrong because I ran the numbers. I love math, so you know, yeah. Either way, so now I'm here and I've done it now. Like all the work I wanted to do, I actually went back into education because of it, and I figured it out. Like everything can be plant based, so don't let anyone tell you any different. All those lies won't work. But yeah, hopefully we'll try to get this done because we are trying, and then all we can do is just keep doing that, keep trying.
Well, here's the
Yeah.
thing I found so fascinating about you is your vegan story is through numbers. I mean, you kind of were working the numbers and then you came to a conclusion that was undeniable. So can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so literally what I did was I looked at like, all these publications that they release, about fashion and the impact on like climate change. And I ran the numbers and I just saw that it didn't add up at the end. So everything with some things, it'd be like 90 something percent, but they tell you at the start that they burn everything. So I'm like, if it's everything, why isn't it adding up to 100? Like it made no sense. I'm like, no, that won't work. So I look at like another set and then the other set was like, I'm like, if you're saying you're accounting for opportunity cost, it makes sense. But like with the next one, it went over 100. So I'm like, this can't be right. So literally, I found out at that point that everything was wrong and they're just lying. And then they'll mostly like blame cotton. But I'm like, cotton is not the only thing we use in fashion anyway. So where's everything else? So like literally, I did it. I was like, okay, I love math anyways. Numbers are my thing. So I'm gonna go and like figure out like everything about other industries. I'll figure that out online, and whatever's left, I can deduce fashion's impact on that. Yeah. So that, long story short, led me to climate healers, but like through like some medical doctors, because I was researching like health conditions for my mom because she's a diabetic. But anyways, that led me to Dr. Neil Bernard and eventually Dr. McDougall, which is actually how I came to learn about Dr. Silesh's work. So I'm forever grateful to Dr. McDougall for that. And I did learn that he recently passed, which is really, really sad. I haven't been able to comprehend that, but I'm glad that he did the work that he did. And I remember he always, said, my grandsons would say, "Grandpa, why didn't you try harder?" Like, I feel like his legacy lives on and he's tried so hard and hard enough, which is the reason I'm doing the work I'm doing this way right now, because that's how I found out about climate healers, because when I saw Dr. Saleh's presentation, like, okay, I should look into his work. So they're like different presenters. I'm like, I saw Keegan Kuhn's work as well. So it was just good to like learn that other people were doing this work too. And it actually made my work easier, which is why I've actually produced the work that I have in fashion right now, because I just completed some work, like a graduate diploma because of that. And even though they didn't really understand the impact of fashion in my school, like Central St. Martin's, but sustainability, they didn't really get, but then I'll give them all the work that I have. And I'm like, these are the references you can go through yourself. You don't need to believe me. Go and run the numbers and you figure it out. But yeah, hopefully they'll make changes. It might be slow, and they're trying, but, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, what's amazing is you've really taken this on to tackle this. You're not going to let the lies continue. You have
Like,
decided that it ends with you. And I think that is so bold and so brave. And we're here with you with Climate Healers. I'm Paige Parsons Roach, by the way. Thank you so much. And I'm going to read off the description of your presentation to come so people can get excited about this. Exploring fashion's impact on climate change and other global depletion issues. Then cross-linking this with consumer culture and other intersecting sectors. Here's the question I have for you. That's a lot, and it's amazing you're tackling this. As a consumer, someone who's out here, wearing fashion, I find that these big ideas need to be brought down to what I can do as a person, as someone out there, one person, because a lot of times what happens is these big ideas that some corporation is going to solve. But when you come
Yeah.
down to it, we each can make an impact by the choices. So back to you.
Yeah. So literally, someone asked me this question before. It's interesting. As you were saying this, I actually recalled that memory. So literally, it was like, what can I do? I'm like, the one thing you can do is get away from leather. Like literally, because it's the worst material there is. Like, there's no reason. Fine, they banned fur now, I guess, due to like activism and all of that. Like literally, if you have fur in your collections, they won't show it in the fashion show because the whole like fashion council thing wouldn't allow them because they sponsor the shows. I'm like, if you're banning fur and leather is worse, why have you not banned that? Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. But yeah, so if you're gonna do one thing, that's the first thing. Fine, we should get rid of all animal products. We can easily do that because there's so many things you can wear. It's not that hard. Literally, there's so much. I don't know why people like complain, but like if there's one thing you're gonna give up leather. That's it.
Okay, so what if you've already given up leather? I mean, excuse me, fur. What are you saying leather? Are you saying leather is the
Leather,
next step?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
say
because
more
leather
about
is
that.
worse than fur. Yeah, so literally, if you run the numbers, because I just finished this work, like literally, they talk about like what you use to like dye fabric and all that, and there's like oh five something, they have a number. But by the time you translate that to just animal agriculture, which of course fashion's impact on that alone, if you look at where skins, as they call it in fashion, I won't use the word exotic because that doesn't resonate with me. You can't use that with something that is that toxic and deadly, and I don't care the lies we've been sold like before. Literally it's at least 58% of the leather that is in the industry in total. It comes from fashion, it's not from food. So I'm like, how can anyone tell you that leather is a byproduct of the industry? That is a plain lie. And I've seen enough. Like I got to a point where I had to stop watching like these so-called conferences because people will sit there and lie to you and have this condescending look like you should believe what they're saying. And they don't even care anymore. I'm like, okay, you know what? That's it, I'm done. I remember this particular panel and this man was speaking, and literally all the females that were there that were supposed to be supporting the thing he was saying, I think they were so shocked by his delivery that you could see on their faces they looked uncomfortable. And I'm thinking, if you're not uncomfortable, why won't you say anything anyway? Because the way they give them time to speak, and it's like passing the mic, but then you keep quiet because it's a lie anyway. For me, I feel like that's the point where you should draw the line. Like, but hopefully we'll get to the point where everyone knows the truth and then they can make choices for themselves. Because this is what I keep saying. Like, you have full autonomy over self, so you shouldn't let anyone dictate to you. And as far as I'm concerned,
Mm,
once you see the truth, you shouldn't let anything hold you back. So that's it. It's
that is
easy.
this is the message I keep hearing from younger activists like yourself that are really had it. You're done with the lies. And so can you say, what would you give somebody like me? Like, what advice would you give the older generation?
Order, who am I? What I'll say is, for me, this is it. Like, everyone can make a change. It's not too late. Like I was saying to you like earlier, I was researching this for my mom, and I remember her saying, "Oh, so what should we do? Should we not eat meat?" I'm like, we don't need to. I know that's a hard conversation to have, but I feel like every step you take away from that is better for you in the long run, anyways. When you go deep into this research, you realize, like, especially with like doctors and stuff, the way they speak about this, like the human body is very resilient for those who know, anyways, which is why it takes so long for diseases to manifest, and that's why it manifests like when you're older, but it's never too late to start. It is never too late to start. So don't let anyone like hold you back. It's not that hard. And then for the like like older generation, I would say try to help everyone in your life. Like help your kids, help your grandkids, because people tend to take advice from those they look up to. So that's like the one thing you can do, especially if you're like the principal like influences in their lives. Because when you do that, then they take that on and then they grow up with that, and that's what they pass on to the next generation. Because this is what I see. A lot of the things like that we do and we perceive as normal, like in terms of consumer culture as well, it comes from the things we've been taught to do, which a lot of times we now kind of take on as choices to be made by ourselves. And if you really look down to it, like in terms of even like food culture, it's really not us. It's just what we've been trained to believe is normal. And when I say that, especially when it comes to like what you decide to eat and as it pertains to like animal agriculture. We only make those choices because we've been trained to believe those are the choices we should make. But if we were taught differently, then we would behave differently and choose differently as well. So it's up to each individual. But yeah, like I said, I know you said advice for you, but it always trickles down. So
Yes, I appreciate this so much, what you just said about caring about others and passing it on and helping those in the generations being what I'm seeing is mentorship. I'm seeing the
yeah,
mentorship of Dr. Silas Rao of Climate Healers. You sought him out through, like you were sharing, other doctors that you got information and how it's making such an impact for you. And now you're giving back. Like you're coming in, you're going to be sharing, you're going to be presenting. Here's my question. One more. I have two more questions. The one is, what is
okay.
your Quest's mission? What is your mission that you are here to accomplish?
Okay, so for me, it's trying to get this message out there, like as far and wide as possible. Because I know with fashion inspired, like I said, I gave you the numbers before, right? But even as it pertains to like medicine and like health, because this is what I say, it's an issue that pervades different sectors, which is why my introduction is that complex, because it's not just one thing. Like literally, I didn't mind my point when it got to a point, because I'm like consumer culture hard, so I have like everything, like first veganism. Like by the time I finished all of that, like if you just link that to health and to the choices we can make, it makes it really simple. I actually send that to you, I think, when I send like to my work, so you can understand, and then you can publish it. Like it just makes it easier. It's so crazy because when I was going back in to like do this work, I had this series that they're working on, because I felt like if if you put this out there, they're like, oh, this is what the truth is, so I can choose for myself. You don't even have to call it vegan if you don't want to, as long as you're doing the right things for you, which also helps in terms of animal welfare, we're just with animals, and then eventually the planet as well. Because everything is one, but we're not trained to see it like that. We're not taught to see it like that. And it's sad when I see in circles where they're like, oh, I'm compassionate. I love the sea, but then you want to eat fish. I remember seeing like a program, this woman had like this beautiful song, but then I think the person that was presenting got, alerted to the fact, that eating fish causes this much damage in the ocean, and they couldn't reconcile that. I'm like, how hard can it be? I remember someone sent something recently. They're like, oh, would you go do like a pickup and like clean the oceans? I'm like, well, if we all stop eating fish, then the oceans would be fine, because that's what's causing the most, and you can't get in there to go and get all of those out as an individual, anyways. Which is crazy. And then I remember seeing recently there's like a job post. There's like stuff you can do. They're like, okay, how can you make your voice heard, which is like a big part like of my course, right? And then you can do things as an artist. And then like, oh, let's do this about, it's like the sea that connects like France to Italy and like some other, like, I'm like, okay. And then the whole idea was to create this artifact that would be submerged into, I'm like, how are you helping? I'm like, how? The whole point is not to put more stuff in there. Like it's crazy. Anyway, so not to lose track too much. My mind is complex, like I said. So like with medicine, like I have a lot of family friends or medical doctors and like friends. So for me, I was talking to them about this and I sent them stuff, because for some of them, they just realized, like one of my cousin, she just realized like 3 years ago, like what she was taught in school, some things were wrong. And she spoke to me, and then I'm like, there's more. And then I told her, she's like, really? I'm like, yes, I'll send you stuff. So I sent her stuff, but she lives in a different county. So we actually haven't had time to like sit down, because she doesn't live in London anymore. She used to live in London when she moved, so I'm like, I'll sit down and talk to you about this, and then you can look through all of these. So what she's doing, she's been trying to move more into like lifestyle medicine, which is what she's been doing. But based on the pictures she has, I know it's still not complete, but which is, that's why I keep saying it's for all sectors. It's not just for fashion. So for people that I know in different sectors as well, everything that I'm like, if it can help you, because then it helps the collective, then let's do that. So I'm doing this in fashion, but then I'm trying to see how everybody else can help in their sectors as well, and see, how much of a change we can make just to help. Like literally that. Yeah.
So if people want to find you now, I know you're in the process of getting your degrees and really solidifying the way you're going to be making your impact. How can they reach you though and find out more about what you're up to?
Okay, so I think the easiest way right now is I'll say like I'm a very private person, so I do have like an Instagram account. So my work, what I'm working on currently is on there. So I think that's like the easiest way. So they can just contact me directly through that. I think you either have that or it's like on one of the forms I can send it to you. So it's the one I was using before for my fashion brand, but then it got hacked. I don't know why. But I've sorted that out now. Yeah, but I think that's the easiest way. And then the website that I sent in the form, that's just for the works. It's like a VR version where people can go and experience the digital exhibition that I created for my course because I'm done with my course now. So that's done. So it's like looking into, what to do
Oh,
next. Yes. Like
yeah.
literally I just
What
finished the
is
presentation.
next?
Yes. Yeah, so basically it's like highlighting like the impact of fashion on the environment. So when I say global depletion issues, we have to thank Dr. Oppenliner for that because just the way Dr. Salish's work is, like his work is very complex as well, but then it kind of looks at everything. Because I remember like telling them on my course that, my numbers fine, they seem like a lot. And then when I'm working through them, because this is me, I love math, right? But when I start calculating, I feel like it's way up. I'll be like, okay, maybe I, did something wrong. So I'll go back and start again. So I'll go back and like start again and then look, I'm like, okay, no, that's right. But then when I looked at Dr. Oppenliner's work, I'm like, okay, like mine is just like keeps playing next to his, which is great because it looks at everything like on a much wider scale, which is what Dr. Silas Rao does too. So it's like amazing to see work like that. So I would recommend his work too. So yeah, basically for me, I'll actually send you the link so you can put them up. So anyone can either go in there, you can look at the work for the virtual reality either on your phone or your laptop, or if you have like a VR headset, you can literally walk in the room like you're in the exhibition in that space, how VR works. But it's good. So it kind of only highlights the fashion aspect because on my course, at first I was going to highlight like the food and like the fashion one because it's like a lot. And the project I did before that was like based on health and how they tell you milk is good for you, but it's not because actually it leaches calcium from your bones. But that's not what they tell us. So we think it's so great, but it's not. Yeah, so Dr. Pam Papa, she's someone who is also good to like look in terms of health for those things. So she'll give you the facts as they are. And she is vegan, even though she says, she'll say to you, oh, I teach based on what the research says, which makes sense. And I love her for that. But if you want the truth about what things are, it's a good place, It's like why I also know like Dr. Like I would be like, oh yeah, there's nothing that says a vegan diet is not the best, which is true. So it's just I think we all need to get rid of this misconception that protein is from animals because it's not. Everything comes from plants originally. And if they could just stop lying and just tell us that, I think it would be easier to get people to move away. Because there's even still this thing I see a lot, like in the vegan, like, world where people say, oh, you need more protein. It's like, no, you don't need like any special thing. Just eat plants and you'll be fine. Just eat enough and you'll be fine. Like, you don't need to go and get like any special, no version of something that is called a version of like a plant. No, just eat the plants as they are and you'll be okay. Yeah. So it's a lot.
Well, I am so grateful that you joined us here on our podcast, The Million Vegan Grandmothers with Climate Healers, y'all. And we have the VCOP coming up on July 20, I want to say, 27 and 28.
27.
Yeah, 27 and 28. It's the VCOP 18 that weekend. And one more, I'm just going to give you one more. This wonderful woman is a vegan fashion designer who is going to shed the light on the negative impacts of fashion on climate change and other global depletion issues by facilitating a dialogue which helps bring system changes. So y'all, this is something to look forward to. I'm Paige Parsons Roach. We're going to be signing off now, and we're going to see you at VCOP 18. Thank you again so much. It was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Lots to take away, y'all, and rewatch this and share it out. Thank you so much.